You're coming in from Woodstock, New York,
Yes,
where did you fly? Did you drive? How did you get here?
we flew.
You went through LaGuardia?
No, Albany.
Oh, Albany. And your flight
Yeah,
was to...
Yeah, it was the smallest plane we've ever been in. You know, what had 18 seats.
Oh, dear. I mean, flying through American airspace is no longer fun. It hasn't been fun in a while.
No.
No.
Well,
You kind of, whenever you get into those small little planes, you kind of wonder whether you're about to make rock history or something. You know?
I know, it's that, you're up there thinking, if this thing crashes, it's not even going to make the papers, you know? Or maybe it'll get some music, you know, some music stuff because we were in it, you know?
Well,
Might get a little column in Rolling Stone.
Buddy Holly and Big Bopper looking after you.
Yeah.
Because they've been through that. So we have a new album, album number 5 for you guys. And, you know, I was talking to the guys from Broken Social Scene and also the people from
Our
Stock.
arch enemies?
Are they arch enemies?
No.
No, we're just joking.
Oh, I mean, I thought it was a bit odd.
We agreed we'd pretend to be arch enemies. So.
Beatles, Stones, Oasis, Blur, Pornographers, BSS.
No, I mean, I thought it was funny. Somebody told me that people are talking about, like, oh, us versus them because our records came out the same day.
Yeah,
which
East Coast, West Coast.
Which
all
was which was an unfortunate accident, but, you know, I've always liked those guys.
It's all just BS.
They seem genial. If they hate me, they don't let it, let it be known when we're hanging out. So, but you know, yeah, I think there's a mutual respect there.
Well,
Definitely.
You know, Vancouver versus Toronto.
But I've never understood that Vancouver versus Toronto thing. Because it seems like each city thinks it's the other city that hates them.
That's true.
Like Torontonians are going, why do Vancouver people hate us? And we just say the same thing. It's like, why can't we just get along? We're all Canadians, right?
Well, one of the things that some of us, say around here is like Toronto works hard so Vancouver doesn't have to. Well, we won't
What
go
the
there.
hell does that mean?
Well, you know, when you work I'll give you an example. When you work in a company that stretches across the country, you know, we're 3 hours deeper into the day than you guys are at any point. And this company, you know, come 5 p.m. Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific time, you just try and get anybody on the phone in Vancouver because they know head office has gone home.
This is the kind of borderline racism that we deal with over there.
So back to,
You couldn't even keep it yourself for a few minutes. You had to make some dig.
back to the original question.
Fucking East
And-
Coasters.
And we're Central Canadians. Please don't insult the East Coast. Getting back to the original question, which was, this really seems to be a very good time for Canadian independent music in general. If you go back 10 years, I mean, all the big acts, the people that people were, or the bands people were talking about, were on a major label. They were in EMI, they were in Warner, they were in Universal, whatever it is. The bands that people are talking about now, it's 50-50. I mean, you have your Billy Talents and Hail the Villains on one side.
What was that? Sorry, what was the second one?
Hail the Villain. They're a new signing to Warner. And you know, the major labels have cut down their roster, so they may have 12 domestic signings at any one time. So they've cut way back. So on one side you have the majors with their signings, but then we have the independents who are really taking a lot of thunder these days. Like I said, there's Used Guys, there's Broken Social Scene, there's Stars, there's Arkells, there's Arcade Fire. What do you think that is?
I don't know. Well, I mean, I think it's always been like that in music. Like, a lot of the great stuff comes from the underground, you know? Like,
Well, why
like,
is it
like
getting so
grunge in the
much-
90s, you know? It came from, you know, underground labels, and then it got, you know, kind of, for lack of a better word, co-opted, you know, by major labels.
What is it about the independent scene now that has it bubbled up into, I don't want to say mainstream consciousness, but certainly greater consciousness than ever before?
Well, I think it's people that are making, you know, when you're independent, you know, you've got nothing behind you. You know, you're out there with nobody supporting you, out in a van. I think those people are doing it for the love, you know? And a lot of the bands like us and Broken Social Scene are people that were making music for a long time before anybody noticed. So, I mean, I think there's something, you know, genuine there. But I mean, not that, you know, whatever, major label bands aren't genuine, but Who could say? People have been asking me for like 6 years now, like, what is it about Canadian bands? Why all the big, good Canadian bands now? And I just don't know, because all these bands, it feels like we just all started completely separately, you know?
Maybe it's because we have to try harder. Because, you know, we're next door to the greatest net exporter of popular culture on the planet. And we have to do more with less. And we have this long east-west connection that we have to make, as opposed to what I guess would be the natural north-south. I mean, Toronto has much more in common with New York and Boston, and Vancouver has much more in common with Seattle than we do with each other,
Yeah, that's very true.
because of just the natural flow of goods and services and people and
Yeah.
culture. Maybe we just have to try harder.
And, you know, this is going to sound like I'm like, you know, kissing ass, but things like all the grant systems in Canada, I think help, you know. There's a lot of support, like with Factor. Not that those things help you make great music, but I think it helps your music get out there. It helps bands record albums. It helps them promote them, put them out themselves. It helps them get to Europe and get noticed. Helps them get to America and get noticed. And, you know, it doesn't always work, but I think, you know, there's definitely something to that, you know. I think it's helped. We've got a base here that they don't have in America. Whenever I tell people about being in a Canadian band who are in American bands, they just think, God, I can't believe how amazing that would be to not completely go in debt $10,000 every time you go to Europe, you know, just to be able to do things you wouldn't normally be able to do. And I think there's something to be said for that. But at the heart of it, you know, I can't say why Arcade Fire rule. Like, what is it about Canada that makes them rule? Well, I don't know. They made themselves that great, you know. It's just a bunch of, at the heart of it, it's still people putting their heads down and just working.
Do you think, and this is a discussion that came up last week, is this whole indie culture thing getting a little bit too commodified now? I mean, the pitchfork media kind of, you know, tastemakers, arbitrators about what is indie and what isn't.
Isn't that always how it goes?
Maybe.
You do something underground, and then people realize you can make money from it, so they make it into a bigger thing, and then somebody else comes along that's underground that's doing something different. I mean, I think it's.
I don't know. I mean, from my point of view, it's like, sure, why not commodify it? Does that mean we'll make more money playing our music? I mean, it's all commodities, isn't it? You know, everybody wants to put out a record and pretend it's not a commodity, but why are you charging people to come to your shows, and why are you charging them for your music? You know, like, yeah, it's not going to sound like a very popular stance. I don't know. Maybe I'm just getting older. I'm tired of screwing around. Not running a museum here, trying to move units.
Well, you got an awful lot of good indie help from your brethren on this record with you know, St. Vincent and Okkerville River and Beirut. These are just people that you met in your travels?
Yeah, Beirut's manager, Ben, is a really good friend of mine. So that's how I met him. And Annie from St. Vincent, actually, the first time I met her was when she came and played on a record, because our producer knew her. And Will from Okkerville, we're all pretty good friends with, because we toured with them in 2008. And so, you know, it's pretty easy to say, hey, Will, why don't you come in and do this?
It's cool getting the Dap Kings horn section.
That was really amazing, because they came in and didn't know the songs. Like, you would just say, hey, we want you to play on this. And like 10 minutes later, they'd have this amazing thing down.
So what, did they get charts, or did they just listen to it and...
They just listened to it.
And create an arrangement?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, they listened to it about, maybe 3 times, and they just kind of played with each... You'd tell them vaguely what you wanted. Like, could you play something here? Or this kind of thing. And sometimes you just said, just go. Just go to the end. And it's amazing to play with people like that. It feels like cheating, because you're not, you just brought in this ringer who is and
they're so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is amazing, But everybody was like that. It was like that with Annie and Zach, and just bring these people in and thinking, you are so talented. I'm such a hack. I should learn to play trumpet too.